Hey guys, this is Comic Uno, and today I am doing a review on The Walking Dead Season 3 premiere called The Seed. And I know I'm using my web camera. I promised I was going to use my other camera, but I couldn't because I didn't have enough time to because I still have some work to do. So I want to get this review up though, so I'm using my web camera instead of my regular camera, but next week's Walking Dead episode I'll use my regular camera. Yeah, the better quality camera. But let's start this review for The Walking Dead, season 3 premiere. We've been waiting for The Walking Dead for a while. The Walking Dead is one of those shows that has a little bit longer of a hiatus than other shows. So we've been waiting for a while. And this season is supposed to introduce McCone, the Governor, these big players in the Walking Dead comic book. So we leave off not a couple of minutes or a couple of days after season two's finale. We went through winter. We didn't get to see the winter of The Walking Dead, and we're already in spring, I'm guessing. And it's been, I would say, like 6 months or 9 months, or I would say 6 months, because Lori is fully pregnant and she is ready to have this baby. And Herschel's growing his beard and stuff. So that's how we know. And Carl has a little shaggy hair. But that's how we know that months have passed, and it's not just the day after. So it took them a little while to get to the prison. They're finally at the prison. That's what we saw in the season 2 ending, and now they're finally at the prison. And it's actually really cool how they kind of do this tag team thing to say, all right, this section is clear. We lock up stuff. We lock up gates. And then they kind of keep moving. They keep moving. And we get to see that in this episode. They make the prison kind of their home, but only sections of it. They're like, we have to keep moving. The only reason we're going to the prison is to get medicine, arsenal, food, water, and that's why they're there. They're not staying there like they did with the barn. They are getting the weapons, getting out, but they have to get the weapons, and it's full of zombies. Now, again, I'm going to tell you guys spoilers in this, so be warned. In this episode, we get to see, in the ending, really, is where everything happens. So Maggie, Glenn, Daryl, Rick, and Herschel, they go off to try to find more arsenal. So they leave Carl, Bethany, and Lori, and Carol, off in the cell that they already cleared. So I was like, all right, this is, your little section. You can stay in, Carl, keep him safe. Carl's like, okay, him thinking he's all that. I'm not a big fan of Carl. But, yes, he always wants to do more than he actually can. But, so he's there with them. So, the rest of the group, Rick and everyone else, they go off to try find more arsenal. They want to clear out more of the prison. So it's a dark area, there's tons of zombies, more than they expected. So Maggie and Glenn get separated from Herschel and the rest of them. So Herschel's like, oh, Maggie, where are you? So he goes searching. And a zombie's on the floor. He suspects, I guess, that the zombie's dead. The zombie bites his leg. So the only way to keep him alive is to cut his leg off. Will he bleed out? That's kind of a cliffhanger. We don't know exactly what happened to Herschel. My guess I don't think they would do the cutting the leg thing if he was going to bleed out. So my guess is they are going to repair his leg, and I think he's still going to survive. That's my speculation. But you never know. He could die. Also, we get to see that they go into this room, like kind of an office type of room. So Daryl's like, oh, shit, I see some zombies. So he goes up, and they're not zombies. They're prisoners, and they're alive. So there's like about 5 prisoners who are alive. And that's how the episode kind of ends. So the one problem I had with this episode is that we waited a long time, and I felt like pretty much the whole episode, not much story got progressed. Yes, we get to see one thing I really liked is that Daryl and Carol have a relationship thing going on, which I really did like. And even though we get to see the chemistry in season 2, and now in season 3 they kind of like talking about it, and I like that in this episode. Also, we get to see Lori kind of thinking, how about if this pregnancy goes wrong? How about if my baby is stillborn because I haven't felt him kick? Will my baby be a zombie? Will I die? How about if I die in childbirth? Will I kill my baby? Will I kill Rick? And all these things. And she thinks Rick hates him. She thinks that Rick hates her. And I kind of agree with that because in this episode you also see Rick kind of doesn't care about the baby. And he doesn't really care about Lori. And it's kind of like, I have to do my job, So Rick is definitely what we saw in that season 2 ending is that Rick is like, this is not a democracy anymore. So he's really taking a lead and really taking this seriously and not worrying about anything else. And that also means Lori and her pregnancy. Like, I think if we started this as season 1 Rick, he would be treating this in a different way. So I like that we get to see that development. In this episode, we do see a lot of development and how much they change in this 6 months period. We get to see characters that we haven't seen in season 2 that we totally forgot about. I would say Bethany, who you probably don't even know who she is. I only remember her because I know that she was never shown she survived. That's the only reason I know her name, and I think it's funny that she's holding, like, a sword or, machete or gun, and I think that's hilarious because we don't even know who she is. But I think the characters that we don't know might be developed a little more. So I think Bethany and Carl's going to have a little thing going on. You do get to see that, so I think that's fun. We also get to see characters that maybe don't take a really, an action standpoint. We get to see them take a little action in this, like Carol, she holds a sniper gun, and Maggie's actually becoming part of the whole group of, like, okay, we'll be the group that takes the action to the zombies, you guys stay here. So Maggie's one the group that actually gets into the action. I thought that was kind of cool. So again, and T-Dog actually had some lines in this, so that was awesome. But yeah, so there are a couple of great things in this episode, but again, I felt like in the beginning of this, I think really the problem I have with this episode was, for a season premiere, nothing really happened for the first 55 minutes. I mean, yes, we get a lot of action, but story-wise, not a lot happened. Especially for a season premiere. But the cliffhanger, I mean, it kind of made up for that, but I felt like maybe you should have, spread this out a little bit. Maybe done this in the half an hour point, or the 45-minute point. You could have gotten Herschel have his leg bitten up. That way we could be a little more excited throughout the episode. I just felt like they squeezed every cliffhanger and suspense moment towards the last 5 minutes. I felt like the first 55 minutes was, yes, there's a lot of action and suspense, but wasn't enough story, and wasn't enough like, oh, are they actually not going to survive? It was more like, oh, gun, shoot, oh, zombie blood, I love that, but I also like to see a little bit more of tension and, a little bit more story development. So I thought this was an okay season premiere. I didn't think it was as great as season 2 and as great as, obviously the first episode, the pilot. But I thought it was okay, and I think this season is going to become even better because there are stories and characters that are coming in that are going to be great. We got to see a little bit of McCone in this, which was awesome. I think once we see more of McCone, the episodes are going to be a lot better also, because she seems like a very interesting character. And then Andrea, she was a little sick in this episode, so we might discover why exactly she's sick, what's going to happen to her, because she was very strong. She even said during the winter she helped McCone. And they seemed like they became close friends. And we had a pretty cool scene, McCone, holding her little zombies as pets. I think that's awesome. It shows how badass McCone is. But also we get to see McCone, like, more action sequences also. But I think once we see them kind of develop in the main plot, that'll be pretty interesting. Especially because Andrea is definitely one of my favorite characters. And I do want to see her more with her own group also. Maybe McCone joining that group. But yeah, and the governor being introduced in the next episode, I think, that's definitely going to bring season 3 into another story. But what they left with this episode, I think episode 2 is gonna be pretty big. I hope they kind of spread out the shockers and spread out the tension and the edgier seatness, because I just felt like this episode didn't. But tell me what your thoughts about this episode is. What do you think is going to happen in the rest of the season? I give this episode a 3.5, but still totally excited for the rest of the season. I love The Walking Dead, and yes, there's sometimes slow episodes, and this might have been a little bit of a slow episode, but I think we're going to get to see a lot more throughout the season. I think we'll definitely be getting more action and stuff, and I think they have listened to us as fans, because they're like, well, we're not going to stay in this place like we did with the barn. So tell me your thoughts in the comments below, and I'm Comic Uno, and guys, I'll have another review for The Walking Dead episode 2 next week on Sunday when it airs, and hopefully I have a better camera than this, because I just had to do this review quickly and it uploads better with the web camera. So hope you guys enjoyed. Tell me your thoughts, and don't forget to follow me on Twitter. The links are in the description below. Bye guys.